Have you ever heard this song before? If you've ever been placed on hold, chances are you've heard this song. But who wrote it, and where does it come from? And also, why is hold music even a thing to begin with? Well, MOH, music on hold, or more colloquially known as hold music, was accidentally invented by Alfred Levy in 1962. Alfred Levy was a factory owner in New York, and the story goes that he was having trouble with his phone lines at the factory. Music was playing through during the call. Upon investigating the issue, he discovered a loose wire touching a metal girder on the building, which was transforming the entire building into a receiver, transferring the audio broadcast signal from the radio station next door directly into his phone lines. This made it such that whenever someone was placed on hold, the caller would hear the radio station broadcast next door. So Alfred Levy took this mistake and designed it a little bit more purposefully, applied for a patent in 1962, and then later received it in 1966. His design essentially describes a switch that feeds program material, whether that's radio, music, a company ad, etc., and routes it to the caller only when the line is placed on hold. The patent expired 17 years later in 1983, and once that happened, music on hold started becoming more and more common worldwide. So all of that brings us to the hold music that we all know and love. So how does that fit into the story? And is it possible that this song is the most listened to song year after year since the 90s, and we've never tracked it? Well, the hold music is called Opus No. 1, and it was composed in 1989 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal on a 4-track. They were 16-year-old friends messing around with drum machines and synthesizers in their parents' garage in California. So they wrote it, and it kind of just stayed at that for a few years until Derek Deal got a job working at then startup Cisco. And just like that, Opus No. 1 became the default hold music, shipping with over 100 million phones. So has Opus No. 1 secretly been the most listened to song in the world, topping Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, and The Weeknd? And just how much money have Tim and Derek made cashing in those royalty checks? Well, if we consider that over 100 million phones have been shipped out with Opus No. 1 as the default track, it's very likely that this is the most listened to song year after year. But unlike Radio Play and Spotify, there's no data that tracks this. But let's assume that most companies don't change the default and that only 10% of those phones play the music to one person a day. Over the course of an entire year, that's 3.65 billion streams. If we compare that to the most streamed song of 2024, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, which racked up 1.77 billion streams on Spotify, it's blowing it out of the water. And that's just assuming that each of those 10% of phones shipped out plays Opus No. 1 just once a day, which is very low. The real number is probably much higher. So how much money have Tim and Derek made off of Opus No. 1? Well, up until 2014, nothing. But from 2014 onward, Cisco and Tim Carlton struck a deal, and now Cisco licenses the music from Tim, and Tim owns 100% of the song, although the amount of money that he makes from the license is not disclosed. So do you love Opus No. 1, or would you rather listen to different hold music?